it's so hard for me to explain it, because when you watch so many other world champions and previous world champions, and when you are genuinely a fan of the World Championship of Public Speaking, and then you're in it, it's like, this is a dream. This is not real. This is
Hello, Ramona. Welcome to the Break Time with Patty show. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for saying yes. I feel so happy about this. Let me just tell, you're one of my, I have to say, you're one of the most inspirational person that I've known in the last few years. But I want to tell the audience, in case they don't know who you are, it's hard to believe they would not know who you are, but just in case, I want to make sure they get the full picture. So Ramona J. Smith, also known as the Ladybug Speaker, is the 2018 World Champion of Public Speaking. She is the second African-American woman and the fifth woman to ever win the title of World Champion. She is one of the most sought-after public speakers in the world and has given keynote addresses in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, just to name a few. Ramona has a bachelor's degree in public relations with a minor in marketing from the famed Baldwin Wallace University, graduating magna cum laude. She's currently pursuing an executive MBA from Prairie View A&M University in Houston, Texas. And she has been featured on Forbes.com, Business Insider, Inc.com, and a number of other news outlets. And when she's not touring the world, you can find Ramona speaking on a smaller stage, inspiring students in the classroom to go after their goals. She is an author, a blogger, and a poet who is leaving a trail of inspiration across 5 continents. Finally, her greatest joy is being mother to her son. Okay, I've talked enough. Let's get started. Ramona, can you tell us a little bit about little Ramona as a young girl and a teenager? What was it like to be in her shoes?
Honestly, as a teenager, I wasn't as confident as I am now. I didn't really know who I was or who I wanted to be. I always had a natural ability to speak. I was never camera shy. I never had any stage fright. I always loved being in front of the crowd, entertaining. As a teenager and even a young person, I hated being in the crowd while someone was on stage giving a speech. I just had this anxiety, like, no, I need to be on stage. I need to be on stage. I've always had that feeling as a kid and as a young person. And speaking from teenage Ramona, I'm so glad I found myself. I'm so glad I was able to follow my dreams and to follow my bliss, and to even be introduced to the concept of self-awareness and self-love as a 19, 20, 21-year-old young person. But definitely in my teens and in my early years, I loved doing talent shows. I was in drama club and on the dance team. I was a bit of a nerd. I was always a writer. I wrote for the school newspaper, and I used to write horoscopes. I used to like make up my own horoscopes for the school newspaper. So I was always expressing myself through poetry and writing and drama and arts and theater.
Okay, well, that's awesome. What was the turning point then that made you decide to go visit a Toastmasters club the first time?
I have an older sister who growing up was my hero, my shero rather. She saw this young woman, myself, who wanted to be a speaker, who wanted to be a motivational speaker, who wanted to be an internationally known public speaker. And this was years before the World Championship. And she had been introduced to Toastmasters after a speech that she gave that was filled with crutch words. And someone came up to her afterwards and said, hey, consider joining Toastmasters. And that's how she got familiar. And then once she realized that I was into the public speaking, she said, that's wonderful that you're into it, but go ahead and perfect it by joining what's called Toastmasters. And at the time I was living in California, out in Santa Monica, California, and I actually visited a Toastmasters club in Hawthorne, California. And that was the first club that I ever joined. It was called the Dream Catchers, headed by one of my speaking gurus, Amy Ayano. So my sister introduced me to the organization when I was in California, and that was 2010.
Ooh, 8 years before you won the championship. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about still standing for just a minute. What a phenomenal speech, Ramona.
Thank you.
I must have watched it at least 15 times. Dissecting it. I'm not even joking. Watching your stage presence, your hand gestures, your intonations, your pauses, your humor. It was simply a masterpiece. You spend a great deal of your time traveling the world, delivering encouraging messages of hope, triumph, and perseverance, leadership, and love. Can you share with us how do you find your stories and what motivates you to share these specific messages with your audiences?
Ultimately, the stories come from my life experiences. And when you travel the world, you gain so much insight about so many different people and cultures and food. And the more that I traveled, the smaller the world became. And what I mean by that is when you are in your own bubble and you see people who only look like you and speak like you and dress like you and dance like you and move like you and act like you and have behaviors like yourself, that's what you're used to. That becomes your norm. However, the more I traveled, I saw a lot of differences in cultures, but I realized that we are all connected. We are all connected. It didn't matter if I was in India dancing the dandiya, or if I was in Brazil eating at a luxury steakhouse, or if I was in Kuwait at the museum. We all connect through laughter, tears, and food. We all connect through laughter, tears, and food. And even growing up as an African-American woman, an American-born woman of African descent, you can still feel that connection through the laughter, the tears, and the food. And it just never changes, no matter where you go in the world, Australia, China, Europe, wherever you go, you are always going to connect through those three things. And that's where those stories come from. They come from my upbringing, and they come from the different experiences that I've had by meeting so many beautiful and amazing people all across the world. So it's really just my personal life experiences and the priceless experiences that I've gained by traveling.
Oh, yes. And all that, I totally agree with this. We all are connected. I'm a firm believer of that. So absolutely. Okay. The first African-American lady who won the title of world champion was Lashunda with her speech, Speak.
Yes.
She is no longer with us on this side, but I do believe that she left a huge imprint on the world. Can you share with us what impact she had in your life?
Lashunda Rundles is the reason why I became the 2018 world champion. She paved the way. And I have so much respect for her because she was suffering from lupus at the time. And many of us are unfamiliar with this terrible disease, but it is a disease that attacks the immune system. And it is a disease that is most common in women. And to have done research on this disease and to be a part of an organization here in Houston called Clutch Distilling that is a firm supporter of lupus and raising lupus awareness, I couldn't imagine trying to rehearse and trying to memorize and trying to prepare yourself for the world stage dealing with lupus. And so when I watched her speech and I watched her in that documentary called Speak, it motivated me so much. And I dedicated my championship to her in my acceptance speech. And the reason why I wore the colors that I wore was because she wore that really dark navy blue suit. So I credit all my success to her and to her family. She definitely paved the way for myself and all the other women of color to come to be able to be bold enough and courageous enough to walk into that journey that was predominantly male dominated. She gave me the courage and the ambition to walk down that path and ultimately grab the title.
Oh, amen to that. Thank you, Lashunda. Thank you, Ramona.
Yes, thank you.
I can't help but feeling that I know that you're my Lashunda Rundles, and I suspect I'm not the only woman in the world right now looking up to you and really wanting to just try to measure up to your ankle as a public speaker. So can you tell us what your first reaction was when you found out that you made it to the final round after beating approximately 30,000 contestants?
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable because I had competed previously and I had made it to the district level. And for those of us in the Toastmasters realm or world, you know that when you make it to the district level, that's major. That's a lot of competitive speakers in Toastmasters. That's a dream to make it to the district level. And once I made it to the district level, I had convinced myself, that was in 2015, I had convinced myself that I was already there. And then I lost in 2015. And for a lot of us who are watching this, whether we want to admit it or not, when we compete and we continue to ascend and then we lose, it's a shattering blow to our ego. And many of us step back because we feel cheated or we feel like it was unfair, and we just get discouraged and we fall back from the organization. And I did that. And I tried to compete again in 2016, and it was the same result, the same outcome. I lost again at the club level, actually. So when I heard at the district level in 2018 that I was going to move forward, I was like, oh my goodness. And then at the semifinals that was held in Chicago in 2018, it was all males. I was the only woman in my round, or in I don't know what to call it, in my cohort, in my group, and the competitors that were broken down. So at the semifinals in Chicago, there were 109 competitors, and it was broken down into like 9 or 10 groups, and all of us competed against each other. So I'm this little skinny girl, the youngest there. At the time, I was barely 30, and I have all these grandpas to my right and to my left. And there was even a man who came over, he approached me, and he bent down, and I'm like, yes, finally, they can see I'm nervous, I'm shaking, I got on the skirt, like, ah. He bends down and he says, you know, I'm gonna beat the pants off you, right? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'm wearing a skirt, so good luck with that. But to just go up on that stage with confidence, and to go up there with full preparation, because I did my best and I prepared and I had given the speech and I had gotten feedback and I was comfortable with it, and I just went up on that stage and I was just completely myself. And then to hear that I had won and advanced to the finals round, it was surreal. It was surreal. And I know I'm kind of rambling, but you're taking me back to that moment, and that winning this title just changed my life. So forgive me if I continue to stumble over words or to ramble, but once I heard my name for first place, the world stopped, time stopped, and I had never gone that far before. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what's next, but let me bask in this moment. And I just called everybody. I was like, I won. And then reality hit, and it was like, okay, well, you have to have a whole entire new speech. So now what? So it was like very, very high, and then it was like very, very low.
Wow. I can only imagine the emotions, the roller coaster.
Yes.
So when you left the stage after, actually, before you even get, so I'm going to go back. Between that moment now and until you made it to delivering the speech still standing? What happened in between?
After coming off the stage, and there were a couple of producers backstage who were kind of telling me what was going to happen next. And I think I had some flowers, or I had something in my hand or something. And then I had my district leaders there, and it was a little chaotic because it was unbelievable. Like, it's not that nobody had expectations or that we didn't have expectations, but when it happened, it was like, wow. Because in my district, we already have a couple of people who have made it to that final stage, but nobody had ever became the world champion. And so it was kind of like a strong sense of hope. So I got off the stage, everything sunk in. I called all of my fellow Toastmasters and my family. And like I mentioned, now it's like, okay, what speech are you going to give now? Because Still Standing was the world championship speech, but the speech that had gotten me to that point was not good enough. And I had perfected not good enough. I had given not good enough maybe 20 or 30 times in front of big crowds, and I was comfortable with not good enough. And I immediately called one of my Toastmasters one of my Toastmasters club members, Heidi Caperton. And Heidi is one of the most talented writers and editors I've ever met in my entire life. Just, her writing is just beautiful and heavenly. And I called her and I said, hey, Heidi, I don't know what I'm about to do because I have to write a whole new speech and I'm panicking. And that's when I started to get anxiety. And I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. And Heidi said, go to sleep. She told me to go to sleep. That was Thursday night. The contest was Saturday. She said, go to sleep. And so I'm like, okay. And so I went to sleep. And the next morning, Friday morning, I woke up and everything was there. Everything was there. I woke up and I'm like, oh, we boxing. We boxing. Not that I'm a boxer or a fighter, but everyone in the world can identify with boxing. Maybe not basketball, maybe not tennis, but every person on the planet knows what this means. And so I had that theme in my head. And then I'm thinking about Muhammad Ali and how he's the greatest, and how even if he had a couple of stumbles or even if he got knocked down a few times, he always got back up and still standing. And so let me put it in a nutshell. High excitement, low anxiety. Take the advice from Heidi Caperton to go to sleep, to rest, to let my mind do the work and not me. Woke up the next morning at my cousin's loft in Chicago, and everything came to me right then.
Unbelievable. So wait a minute. So you had never even written a single line up to that point, that morning?
Well, actually, Still Standing is the revamp of a speech that I had written called Unbreakable. Okay. So technically, no, but kind of same concept as Unbreakable.
Okay. But still, that theme made the whole, that theme, that made the whole thing. So it's amazing that you came with that idea just a day before. Okay. So when you left the stage after delivering your speech, the winning speech, the Still Standing, what went through your mind? Like, did you think you might actually have a chance? I know you had the hope from when you even made it to the first round, but at that moment you're done delivering this amazing speech, and please go watch this speech. You will never be the same again. Did you think that you might actually have a chance to earn that title?
The ego part of me wants to say yes, but honestly, I was so enthralled. I was in the moment. It's so hard for me to explain it, because when you watch so many other world champions and previous world champions, and when you are genuinely a fan of the World Championship of Public Speaking, and then you're in it, it's like, this is a dream. This is not real. This is, I'm just going to enjoy this dream until I wake up. That's really how I felt. because I was there in 2015 when Muhammad Katani won. Yes. And I had watched other speakers. That was the first one that I was in person for in Vegas, but I had watched so many times other speakers on this stage, and I always wanted to be on that stage. And for this dream to come true, it was a dream. So honestly, before you get there, you know, you have to have some type of sense of confidence, like, yes, it's possible. Yes, this is what I'm practicing for. That's the ultimate goal, of course. But I really became a fan. As soon as I walked into that auditorium, I became a fan. There were times when I was sitting in the audience during the contest where I forgot I was competing because I was so enraptured by and engaged with the speakers who were on stage, like Sherry Sue and Anita Faye Taylor and Kwang. Oh my goodness, I love Kwang so much. I had became a fan. So there never was a time where that was really at the forefront of my mind, because I was so grateful to even be in the presence of such great speakers.
Oh my God, I could only imagine. Okay, and you looked so comfortable when you arrived. I won't see spoilers. You do have to watch that video at home, but I've never seen anybody look so comfortable and at ease. You owned that stage, lady. Like, this stage was yours. I felt like the moment that you showed up, I felt like, okay, that's it. She's the winner, you know? But obviously I was not watching it by then. I was not in Toastmasters, but when you watched the speech, you showed up there like this was yours. The title was yours. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's my perception. And I could imagine maybe 2% what you felt like when you were sitting and watching the speeches that were being delivered, because I was sick in August. I had a cold and I had to cancel the trip. So instead of binge watching Netflix, I decided to binge watch the World Championship of 2021. And oh my God, I had my Kleenex box. I had a whole setup. I did not miss a single one of them through the entire, from the beginning to the end. So it was amazing. So I could imagine what it must be like to be live, and I cannot wait one day to maybe be able to sit there and watch all those amazing speeches live.
You have to. It's unlike any. It's a zoo. It is a zoo, because everybody wants to fill in and everybody wants to make sure they get the seat. So when I went in 2015, I mean, people were bursting through the door and racing to the chairs to make sure they secured a seat. It was a zoo, but I do hope you get to experience it in person. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
From your lips to God's ears. Yes. When you won that title, it was the first time in history that there was an all-female top 3 winners of the World Championship of Public Speaking. Never, ever happened before. I don't even think that there were ever 2 of them. Anyhow, can you describe what that felt like to be on that podium?
Just girl power, just women's empowerment, showing women that speaking or any gift that you have is not dictated by your sex. It's not dictated by your gender. If you're great at something, don't let it stop you just because you're a girl or a lady or a woman, or typically men are dominating this field, because for many years, women couldn't even compete in the World Championship of Public Speaking, or we couldn't join Toastmasters, I believe, for many years. I forget the dates. I used to know them, but I forget the dates. I think it was like in the 70s is when we could join, and I forget, but it was a man thing, and that's okay, and that's fine. But when 3 women took 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place in the world, I feel like that was just confirmation to any woman anywhere to know that you can do whatever it is that your heart desires. But you have to follow your bliss. Imagine if myself, Sherry Sue, or Anita Faye Taylor would have never written our speeches, or would have shied away from this big stage, or would have cowered because, oh no, we're women and we can't do this, and there haven't been many women winners, so no, we're just not gonna do it. Imagine how many people would be missing out on that inspiration and that encouragement. So many other women. In 2018, so much history was made, but I'm so glad that girls all over the world and women all over the world were able to see that 3 women of color, technically, 2 African-American women. I identify as African-American. I'm not sure if Anita Faye Taylor does, but I'm sure she does. And then Sherry Sue is a woman of Asian descent, or an Asian woman, are the best speakers in the world. Like, it's just like, come on, women. Anything you feel like you couldn't do, now you know. Now you have permission to do it. Now you have confirmation that you need to do whatever it is that you were put on this earth to do.
Yes, yes. Women, I hope you heard this message. Repeat that again. Watch it again. What advice can you share with Toastmasters contestants to help them on their journey to become world champion of public speaking? Like, besides go to sleep,
right?
Something you wish someone would have told you when you first decided to start competing.
That's hard for me to say as far as when I first started competing, because I had someone, a very talented, knowledgeable, another guru of Toastmasters and speaking, Larry Sapansky. He gave me a lot of mentorship and a lot of guidance as far as how to use the stage, and as far as how to use vocal variety and how to use props and how to really give a world championship speech, because there is a formula. There is a formula. Luckily for me, I had people like him in my corner to prepare me, and I had people like Cheryl Warren and Kathy Kest, but I love you, Kathy Crosby, too. But Kathy Kest and Rose Williams to help me and help guide me along the way. The advice that I would give is to, and it's very hard and it's very challenging, but don't think about winning. Don't make winning the ultimate goal, because that feeds your ego. And as a world champion, if you are strictly doing this for your ego, you are going to cheat so many people out of a genuine experience. You're going to cheat so many people out of what they're genuinely desiring from someone who they call a world champion. If you go to all these countries and you're only talking about yourself and how it benefited you and how sparkly and big this trophy is, you're not adding value to the lives of these hundreds of thousands of other Toastmasters who have a dream of really being a dynamic speaker and a dynamic leader. So if the trophy is your ultimate goal, don't compete. If the trophy is the only thing you're in it for, don't compete. But if you genuinely have a message that is going to add value to the lives of the people in your audience, if you have a message that is going to inform, entertain, inspire, motivate, persuade, move, go ahead and do it. But don't just do it to win. That's really the biggest piece of advice that I could give any person who wants to compete. Don't just do it to win. Do it to help your fellow Toastmasters.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Especially, it is a title that does change life. So I do agree with what you're saying. Very well. Good. If there's someone watching us right now, Ramona, a struggling single mother, a discouraged student, a depressive employee, a person in an abusive relationship who feels like throwing in the towel, what would you like to tell them?
I would say sit down. Sit down, because you're not going to like what I'm about to say. So have a seat and clear your mind. And this is the time where you have to take the power back. This is the time where you have to realize that you have more control over your life and your destiny and where you're going and what you want to become than you think. So this is a time where you can take back the power. And so this is the part that I'm going to say that you're not going to like. The life that you're living right now is a sum of all the choices that you have made. That hurts. Ouch. That hurt. Ouch, Darren LaCroix. Ouch. That hurts. But the situation that you are in right now is because of a choice that you made. If you are a single mom, it's a choice that you made with the person that you chose to be in a relationship with. If you're in an abusive relationship, it's because you're making a choice to stay there. If you're an unhappy employee, or if you're a person who is in any unhappy situation, it's because you're choosing to stay there. Now, I'm not saying everything that happened is your fault, but what I'm saying is now is the time for you to decide, make another choice, decide to take back your power and start thinking about your future and what choices that you can make today in order to change your future trajectory, in order to change your future life path. As we know, I dropped out of college 4 times because I chose to. Those were choices that I made. No one said, hey, just quit. Nobody said, hey, just drop out. You don't have to finish. I chose to do that 4 times. But then I also turned around and chose to finish and graduate magna cum laude. I chose to divorce my husband in 2015. That was a choice that I made. I could have still been married now. We would have been married for 7 years now. But I chose to divorce this person. But now I'm choosing, hello somebody, to be in a committed relationship with my future husband. And we've been rocking and rolling for 3 Valentine's Day, going on our 3rd Valentine's Day. So what I'm saying is you have to take back the power of your life and understand that the choices you make are going to dictate your future. So what are the different choices that you need to make today in order for you to live the life that you truly want to live? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Everything you did has already been done. So if you want to be more financially stable, YouTube University, it's free. If you want to know how to be a better partner in a relationship, YouTube, counseling, talk to other couples who've been doing this for 30 years. You are not alone. Everything is about choices.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you. And especially because you're talking to me or my old me, basically. I spent decades in unhealthy cycles over and over and over again. And it was my choice. And I could also just play the victim and say, oh, he did this or he did that. But really, it was my own choice to be there. And what did change for me, just to go back to what you were saying, is there was this very wise man, actually, that asked me once, if you could have a conversation with your 100-year-old self on your deathbed, what do you think that they would tell you to do differently from today until you make it to your deathbed, so that you will have lived a life with no regrets? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was mind-blowing because I spent my time saying, I wish I wouldn't have done this before 10 years ago. I made a lot of mistakes I was ashamed of. So up to that point, I was living like, oh, I screwed up my life. And then I was dealing with depression, insecurities, all kinds of things. But then that moment he said, when he asked me this, I think I was 41 years old. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, oh my God, let's say I die when I'm 100. Forget 100. Let's say I'm 80. That's another 40 years I can live. Yes. And I cannot control what was done to me when I was a teenager, when 10 years ago, 2 weeks ago, but I can control from today until I get there. And for me, that was life-changing for me. That made me start a whole process where I joined Toastmasters to find my voice, to stop living in shame and trying to get to the women I'm trying to get to help them. So yes, absolutely. We can change. We are the captain of our ship, basically, from today until we die, basically. So thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
Yes. What's the next step for Ramona Smith?
So many things. I have not even reached my prime yet. I tell a lot of people that I want to be the female version of Tony Robbins. I want to continue to inspire. I want to continue to network and meet new people and find the best parts of myself. I want to do movies and television and talk shows, and it's so much. I want to explore every part of myself that is in existence, that I haven't tapped into yet. And I'm going to do it unapologetically, and I'm going to do it boldly, and I'm going to enjoy this life experience for everything that it is. I'm going to take risks. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be afraid of what other people think or say, because that has nothing to do with me. Wayne Dyer, who's one of the men or the humans who I absolutely adored before he passed away, but even in his absence on this earth, he always talked about how we're what is it? I know you know what I mean. We're not natural beings having a human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience or something like that. But I just want to continue to do the things that make me happy and do more of that. And I feel like that is what a good life is, when you follow your bliss and you follow the things that make you happy and you eliminate the things that don't serve you. And what I mean by serve you is, if you're going to a job that you hate and you're going to a job that you do not like, why are you doing that? If you're hanging around these friends that you don't really care too much about, and you're hanging around friends who every time you get around them you feel drained, why are you still hanging around them? I'm done with that. I only want to do things that enhance this life experience. So wherever that leads me, that's where I'm going. I'm just a really free spirit. I've always been non-traditional. I've always been a non-conformist, and I plan to keep on doing that forever and ever and ever. And I just want to live life to the fullest. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yes, amen to that. And I'll be sitting on the front seat because I'm following you on social media, and I'll watch everything that you do because I love everything that you do. And I feel your heart and your passion. And yes, I wish you everything that you want, basically, and even more. And sometimes, you know, we want certain things, but God has even greater plans. So I want that for you. Definitely. If someone in the audience would like to know more about you or would like to book you to inspire and motivate their audience, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Instagram at Ramona J Smith 1, or you can send me an email, theladybugspeaker@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, Ramona J Smith. Visit my website, ramonajsmith.com, or just do a simple Google search, Ramona J Smith. You see it on the shirt.
Love it. To wrap it up, Ramona J Smith is on a mission to inspire, connect, and transform lives globally using the power of her words. And what I admire the most about her is her energy, her authenticity, and the impact that she has on little girls worldwide who now believe that maybe, just maybe, there is a spot for them amongst the champions. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Ramona?
I just want to say thank you for this platform. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our story and to converse and to talk about speaking, which all of us who are going to be on your show love. So thank you for stepping out on faith to do this. And I wish you the absolute best. And I hope every guest that you reach out to says yes. And I hope that you continue to grow and reach and move and transform every eye that touches your eye on this show. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you. I know you're extremely busy, and it's been such a pleasure. What a wonderful lady. I loved you before I even met you, but now I love you to infinity.
I love you too.
And my YouTube friend at home, thank you for watching. I hope you have been blessed by Ramona's presence today. And I will leave you with this. The power of your voice can change the world. Find it and use it. Until next time.